This episode is brought to you by Neo Books and Coffee. Neo Books and Coffee is an independent bookshop and coffee bar housing a wide collection of both English and Arabic books, and a coffee bar that serves and sells the finest quality coffee beans and exquisite teas. This is Wafa Al-Abedat. You are listening to the Woman Power Podcast, a subsidiary platform to the Woman Power Summit, the largest event in MENA, with the aim of empowering women and helping them achieve their absolute highest potential. Each week on the Woman Power Podcast, you will hear honest, vulnerable, authentic, real conversations from inspiring women. These women will share their experiences and stories into what it takes to build a successful business and career. The podcast will share insight and inspiration and hopefully inspire action and lead change. Fatima Al Shirawi is an Emirati entrepreneur and founder of The Gracious F. Established in 2008, Gracious F is a wellness company and a leading color consulting firm in Dubai that is dedicated to assisting individuals and corporations in the segment of color psychology. Welcome, Fatima. I wanted to ask you, how are you guys doing recovering from the COVID kind of experience this year?
Well, first of all, it's lovely to see you again because we had the best time last year in the conference and I was completely ready to come this year. We've been honestly, it's been up and down. UAE, dealt with it very well. Honestly, they were super organized. So the whole process actually went quite fast for us. However, of course, the shock and the feeling and the whole lockdown was very depressing. And because we're a city that we're active 24/7, like our lives are like constantly moving. So suddenly, just in a second, just stopping everything. We actually, I think in the first month for me, I kind of didn't know what to do with myself because with me, like last year was insane. Like I was literally living on a plane from one project to a workshop to an event to whatever. And it's very interesting when they tell you, be careful what you wish for. I was on a plane in December with my last project in Saudi. And I was like, I don't know how long I can do this for. I need things to stop so I can breathe. And my wish came true, but in a very bad way.
So for those of us who don't know what you do, how would you describe your job or your work?
Well, number one, I land up being everybody's best friend through my job because I hold their hands through very difficult times, giving them tools how to deal with these issues. So I'm a color consultant. So my focus is basically color psychology, learning about how these colors affect us, how to use it to communicate, to deal with certain illnesses that we have, whether it's physical or mental. And it's not only for the individual, it's kind of a journey. As I said, I become a best friend because they would come in to discover more about themselves and how to use these colors, but then we go into their interior because they want to enhance the experience of color in their space. And then we go into their businesses because we've opened up and made them so confident that they go ahead with fulfilling their dreams without fear. So then we go into designing their branding, their marketing, and so forth. So it's a beautiful journey, honestly, I have with my clients.
So I understand what a color consultant is, but I didn't know how deep it would, or it could possibly integrate to all aspects of your life. This is like brand new information for me. So that's very, very interesting. And my question to you is, are you a one-man show or do you have a team, or do you enjoy like the flexibility of just, doing one-to-one and having that intimate relationship with your clients?
Well, there are two sectors to our business. So we have our lifestyle sector, which is more one-on-one, and then we have our corporate sector. So the lifestyle sector is more me. So it's a one-woman show because I'm the one who is the specialist and qualified to do that sector of the business. However, my corporate, we are a team because I partner with many companies. Like when it comes to our branding, I partner with a marketing agency that I work with. Then we market with like designers. So here we have the product development. So in that sector, we're an actual team. But on the lifestyle section, it's one-on-one.
How does somebody get to the space that you're in right now? Because what you're doing is so specific and so unique. You know, not a lot of people are certified consultants of color and are able to, like you said, apply it for the rest of your lives. How did you get here?
It's been a growing journey. I mean, I'll tell you, even at this point in time, after 10 years of being in the business, I feel like there's still so much more for me to develop and learn. And how you get here, honestly, it's about your passion. With anything that you do, if it's your passion, you will excel in it naturally. And this is where it came. For me, I was always actually very in tuned with color. Like even as a child, I used to love to paint, and I remember specifically picking my colors before I would pick the subject. And then I would kind of like know what mood I was in with the colors I was using. And even in art class, my teacher would like find it bizarre how I would mix the most unusual colors and they just visually look so beautiful. So I've been very sensitive to the concept of color and how it affects us. And as I grew up, honestly, I was like very much into fashion and expressing yourself in a unique way. I was, as you can see at my work, I'm not a conformist, always out of the box. So I used to love to like as a teenager, like be adventurous with my fashion, and from there. I went into, of course, in that time, I could not study fashion design because, like, you know, how our parents are either were like doctors, engineers, business, and especially with me, my entire family, my whole mother's family are doctors, and all my father's family are like in business. So we don't have a creative bone there. And here's where like I kind of made a compromise. So I studied marketing, and there it actually made me explore even more how to be creative with colors. And we actually like learned so much about like creating certain concepts or design with like kind of subliminal messages. So I was just learning every step of the way. I was learning more and more of how these colors are like actually basically influencing how we're behaving or how we think to purchase something. So it was just like building blocks, basically, I would say. So every step I went, it was one block over the other to get me to where I am right now. And even with the company, I mean, I started off as individuals. So it was all about either like the image sector or more about creating balance with the chakra colors. And the more and more I went into it, it just developed and took a life of its own.
You went to one of the best colleges in the world for fashion, London College of Fashion. What was that experience like? What did you learn? And did you enjoy it?
Oh, I loved my experience in London College of Fashion. And actually, it's an interesting story of how I got there. Because my first degree was in marketing, as I mentioned, which was in the US. And after I came back, a year after I moved back, my mother passed away, Allah yarhamha. And at that point in time, something switched in me where I thought to myself, like, life's too short, and my passion was always fashion design. And like before, I kind of made it as a hobby because I was like, no, I have to go by this plan my family had for me. And at that point in time, I was like, no, I'm going to pursue I had no fear. Strangely, I had no fear. Before, I had fear. And that's how I started actually a summer in Polimoda in Florence. And then from there, I decided, no, I want to do a full degree. So I went to London College of Fashion. And it was the best thing ever because that's where I was introduced to color psychology. And I was really honored to be taught by Angela Wright, who created the color effects theory. And from day one, I sat in class, and the minute she started speaking about the whole theory, I was like, this is what I have to do. This is my calling.
Oh, I love these stories. I love these moments because the more you hear about them, the more you believe they're true and they can happen for you. So in that moment, you were like, this is going to be my career direction for the rest of my life. Was it that instant?
Yes, it was that instant. And what even drew me more towards it is with the theory, it's not only about color. You're going deep into certain personalities and how you need to have certain colors, design, elements, textures that actually express your unconscious. So I found it fascinating. Like, she knew nothing about me at the time. And she came up to me after 3 days of class and she told me, "Dear, you need to get out of this purple phase you're in." And I always used to wear purple. I don't know why. So I told her, I never realized it. And she's like, "I know you're going through depression, but you need to change into other colors to heal." And I was in a state of shock. I'm like, how did she know? And this is where I was like, no, this is what I'm doing, because there's so many people in the same state as me that want a solution but don't know where to start. So this was a great thing, because this truly surfaces what's wrong and then takes you step by step slowly. Like, most of the time people tell you, okay, go to a therapist or do this exercise or just keep busy to keep your mind. It's very harsh. But this was beautiful. It was just you were taking from these colors naturally and taking it step by step. So this is what actually drew me towards this. And the experience in LCF was just amazing.
Why were you depressed?
Because I told you it was a year after my mother passed away. So that's why. I was trying to be normal, but it was still deep inside me. And I'm not a very expressive person, very private person. So I was just keeping it in.
Are you telling me that when you see somebody wear anything, you can understand more about their personality and how they're feeling just by their outfit, the choices that they make?
Yes, their outfits, and also actually their features, their body language, because in the color theory, it just doesn't go with the color. It's like there's types of personalities. So the concept of the theory is like the effect of an individual color on our mood and behavior, and then the effect of a group of colors. And each individual falls into one particular group. So this helps you not only know how to balance their energy, but at the same time, you already know what their character is. So you actually know how to speak to them in their own language.
How did you become certified in color specifically?
Yeah, so after I graduated, then the program was 1.5 years to certify as a color consultant. So that's when I joined Angela's Institute and certified as a color consultant. And I thought it was good for me because it was a flexible program where I could just go and take my exams, and the rest I could just do, online. So that way it was really good. But it was also a tough journey because first of all, we are exposed to 16 million hues of colors, and I had to be trained how to basically identify and group these 16 million group of colors naturally. So now I'm an expert in it. That's good. And then, of course, even analyzing, we had to classify 10 cases accurately for us to actually get our degree. So it wasn't like you just take courses and take things. It's a whole process,
We're very proud to announce our collaboration with a brand that we strongly resonate with and are huge fans of. The Woman Power podcast will be sponsored by Neo Books and Coffee for our upcoming season 4. Neo Books and Coffee is an independent bookshop and coffee bar housing a wide collection of both English and Arabic books, stationery, and gifts. Their coffee bar serves and sells quality teas from tea pigs and only the finest Arabica beans. They also have a coffee app available on both iOS and Android devices. The Woman Power podcast is delighted to be working with our new partners and look forward to producing more meaningful content and recognizing our goals together. Watch the space for more exciting details. And then when did you decide, okay, I have this weapon or this tool or this asset, I have this knowledge, I'm going to start a company. And why did you choose the Gracious F?
Okay, well, this is where I told you the company took a life of its own. So I came back with the idea that I was going to do a fashion brand since I studied fashion design. And then I was then going to incorporate the color psychology part of it into the creative aspect of it. However, every time I came to start, it would pull me towards like styling and image consulting. And I was getting actually more projects in that aspect. So first I said, okay, let me take it step by step, because also I was newly qualified. So I didn't want to, even just rush into it and make mistakes, because I'm dealing with people's energy here. It's very sensitive. So there's like a moral responsibility we have. And actually Angela told us there, she's like, you are doctors. You actually have a moral duty towards your clients, because you're playing around with their energy. You have to be super careful. So then I started doing that only. So it was a home business actually. And I focused on that only. I focused on doing personal one-on-ones, and some of them were okay, personal images, and some of them were actually because people who are attracted to do the session are usually people going through a transition. So it was many people that had done the session and would recommend to their friend that, oh, my energy changed, or my attitude changed, or people who were reacting so amazingly towards me when I wore these colors. So here's where I decided, okay, this could be something good for people's self-esteem. And I also encouraged it for people who were going through depression, because I used this theory to get out of my own depression. So I stuck to that actually initially. And the gracious F came about because in branding, of course, when you're making a fashion line, it should represent who you are. So I did a little focus group, and I asked around. I asked them, describe me in one word. And every single person described me as gracious. So here is where, and I love the word, and it does kind of express how I am with people, and I am very gracious always, in every aspect actually of my life. So that's where I use the gracious F, and I love science, so I entered into numerology, and I calculated what would be the character of the gracious F, and the description that came was exactly what the company is right now.
When did this become a profitable business? In the very beginning, you're making money, you're maybe paying yourself. I mean, you were a one-man show at some point. But when did you say, okay, I'm making enough now to get an office or hire somebody? Or did you get any support from your family? How did you get that investment going to build your brand?
The first 3 years was more a home business till things started picking up, and also people started recognizing what it is, because it was a completely new concept. Honestly, nobody knew what it was. So I had to actually educate my audience and the market of what it is and how can it benefit, because automatically when you say color consultant, they're like, okay, it's an image consultancy. Nobody thinks of it as something to go into interior or marketing and all of this. This was pretty new. So after 3 years, I took a shared office, which I could afford at the time to cover. And I needed the investment for PR to create awareness. So here's I got support from my father to invest in a good PR company, where we honestly, I think for 2 years, we were on a campaign to just spread the word. And that is what really transformed the business into bringing in the bigger corporate projects for it to be profitable. And then after that, I think by 3 years also, we moved into Dubai Design District. At that time, Dubai Design District had just started, and it was a hub for all creative people, and there was a lot of community work that was going in partnering with all the designers, the creative people. So here's where the boost went in, and it became truly profitable, because we started working with huge companies, and it started rolling in.
What was the biggest mistake you made during this time of going from home business to setting up your company? Did you overspend in certain areas? Did you hire the wrong person? As an entrepreneur, what mistakes did you make?
Yes, the mistake I did make is it was trial and error what I used to find what was important to invest in. So for example, I was too focused, because I'm a perfectionist. So design when everything has to look perfect, or I will not accept it. If it's representing me, I will not. So I think I spent, the mistake I made was I spent too much on my branding, which could have been much less and to a basic where it was serving its purpose. In terms of another mistake that I made was, I feel initially I was a bit stuck with the idea of how it should be. So with my mistakes, I learned to adapt to my market. So sometimes I used to think, no, but this is not what we do. And now I think, how can we use what's going on with what we do? So my mentality completely changed there. So at the beginning, maybe as an entrepreneur, you're a bit, because you're afraid, maybe you're a bit more conservative. And the further you go into it, the mistakes you make, you become more bold to take challenges.
And then what was the best decision you made? I know you mentioned PR, and I'm a bit biased because I do have a PR company and I do believe it transforms companies. But what other great decision did you make that you felt like, okay, this was very smart. I'm happy I made that decision?
I honestly think it depends your type of business and whether PR would serve the purpose or not. Now, with my type of business, it is very much focused on marketing. So PR and marketing are hand in hand, And as I said, at the time, the awareness, it had to be, I had to invest in it. There was no other way, because that was the only way I could spread my voice. Like when I started off, now it's like super easy. You don't have to spend anything. You have social media to spread the word in 2 seconds. Well, the best decision I made is that honestly, I pushed myself even when I was scared sometimes. That was the best decision. And I didn't listen to people, because I honestly, strangely, even though my kind of business is all about like balance and making people happy, I had a lot of negativity around me, and I had a lot of some people were very dismissive of what I do, and the best thing I did was not listen to them. Honestly, just don't, like, that is my true advice to every entrepreneur. Don't listen to people. Go with your gut, because your gut is always right.
How did you develop such thick skin?
I think you just develop it being in business. It just naturally comes to you. And generally, I told you, like, my personality changed after my mother passed away. So fear just disappeared from my system. So this is where I think I learned to have a thick skin, that in my mind, every situation I was scared or it was a challenge, I would put it in my mind. You already went through the worst thing in your life and you survived. This is nothing. This is always what I used to tell myself. Everything that I went through, like, sometimes even my small successes, I used to be appreciative. Sometimes people take a lot for granted, like even sitting with my families or playing with my nieces and nephews. Like, I was always appreciative of that time. Like, normally I feel if you haven't gone through loss, you kind of take it for granted, or this is how life is. You know what I mean?
What is the common thing that you find in all your clients? Like the one thing that you feel is repetitive?
Actually, I see this both in men and women, is that people have a problem in expressing themselves, and they also are afraid to be who they are. These were the two common things that I saw in my one-on-one clients. But I have also couples, and same thing. It is the communication, and it was strange. Like last year, I was actually worried for the community, because every single client I had, male or female, come in was either going through a divorce, getting divorced, and it was all when we addressed it, it was all a matter of not expressing themselves. That was the pure, simple problem that was going on there.
Just to go a bit deeper into these issues, why do we struggle to communicate? Is it like an Arab thing, or what is it?
I feel it's a people thing, because I've had people from other nationalities that also have the same struggle, but to a maybe lesser extent. And interestingly, saying, is it an Arab thing or not? It's more a cultural thing, not an Arab thing, because in color theory, the Mediterranean or Arab region falls into what we call a firelight personality. And this personality is all very outgoing. It's all about being around people. They don't like to be alone. And they're very giving because their motto in life is save the world. So as a personality, we don't actually have that. It's a society that has made us so, actually has muted us from expressing ourselves. Yeah.
And then the other challenge was so expressing yourself and not being who we are. Why are we not who we are or want to be?
Same thing, society, because society has put certain criteria that you're supposed to be. And even though we're changing and each generation is changing, like for example, what my parents thought how you should be is completely different from your generation and mine and how we're with our kids. And I'm sure you're going to notice that once your son grows up, that there's certain things that say your mom used to do, you're not going to use the same system. But I think in our as a I would say as an Arab community, we're more about very much people pleasers. As I said, we like to be surrounded by people, accepted by people. So that's why we're afraid to be ourselves in case they don't like it. And we're quite harsh actually, because if you're not conforming, then you're shunned out. You know what I mean? But I'm seeing that even now, kind of in European societies also had kind of the same problems here. But these factors, I feel, are more outside factors than internal factors. And we're also not, I mean, now we have been given the tool to learn how to express our emotions. Now people are accepting that, yes, mental illness is something that should be treated. Now we're accepting that if couples have problems, they should go to a couples therapy. So we're quite young if you think of it as a society. Yeah.
How would you advise someone who doesn't feel good about themselves in terms of the clothes that they wear? Like they can't make decisions, they don't know what works for their body, they end up going and buying the same thing, it's not flattering, they don't feel good.
Well, number one, honestly, I do advise them to come and do a color consultation, because this would be an entire manual of first of all, identifying as a personality who you are and how to express it. And then learning what styles go with your body shape, what textures flatter you, and also what colors to use, not only to express their personality, but also as a tool to use it in different situations. So when you have certain anxiety, say you're meeting someone and they intimidate you, and normally you don't know how to deal with them, you would wear a certain color that would calm you and also reflect that on the person. So they would react to you in a positive way. So this is a great tool for you to not fear, to believe that you can handle any situation because you have the right colors to pull you through that. But as an overall, before coming to a color sessions, honestly, there's a lot on the internet out there in terms of knowing for your body shape what to wear. So that would be one way to go. And Pinterest is wonderful because literally Pinterest gives you everything. So that shows, like, in terms of body shape as a guide. But in terms of what to choose for yourself to express yourself, the first colors you're naturally drawn to, those are your colors. Because 80% of what we think about a color is unconscious. So if you're naturally attracted to it, these are your colors. And it all depends, as I said, on the color personalities. So some people are comfortable with going in the trends. Some people are more classic. Some people are more eclectic. But once you identify what you are, then you can take the risk in changing that style.
When I moved into my house and I became Rabbat Bayt, and I moved in with my husband and we had to make interior decisions, I was like so overwhelmed. And I generally do get overwhelmed by the malls and the shops and even online stores. So I really struggled to shop. So that's why, I used to take things from my mom's closet, the stuff that worked a lot because she had this gorgeous closet. So I'd just be like, this, And then when I moved into my house, I made everything 50 shades of gray because I'm like, I don't know what to do. I'm just going to make everything gray. And I journal this sometimes, like, who am I? Because I don't know. It's so interesting because I feel like if it's not something that you kind of tackle early on, it kind of comes with you as you get older, and then you're forced to make decisions. Now I can't shop for my son. Like my husband, bless him, he buys the furniture, loves furniture shopping, buys clothes for my son, because I'm like, I don't like, I'll take him to football, I'll do the activities. I don't do clothes, I don't do interiors, I don't know how to pick. You do it. But if I get a catalog, I'll copy it. But I don't know how to make those decisions. So it really bothers me that I'm unable to like make a design decision from a clothes perspective, but also from an interiors perspective. So I'm grumpy.
No, you're not grumpy actually. The reason I've had actually a story of a person who was affected with the colors they had around them and they hated that color growing up. So this is where we go into what is called color symbolism. So it's your reaction to a color, not because that color makes you feel that way, but due to an outside factor like social, religion, a personal experience. So, and it's quite profound actually. It's difficult to get the person out of that mode. So I had a male client who was Turkish, and he had kind of an autumn palette that suited his personality. So they were beautiful, like brown colors that looked lovely on him. And every time I put it, he's like, "It's nice, but I'll wear it when I'm older. It's nice, so I'll wear it when I'm older." And I told him, "Why have you associated brown with what, like something you wear when you're older?" And he's like, "Because in my country, only older when men wear like dark brown or dark green." So you see, he was programmed, but that's not actually the case. And also, we go through certain phases. So maybe because you were exposed to so much color growing up, you kind of wanted to isolate yourself from the color. And the color of isolation is gray. And that is why you're so drawn to it.
What did you just say? The color of isolation is gray?
Yeah, because gray is nature's neutral. So it's a neutral color. And gray makes you disappear. So honestly, like if you're going to a social occasion or a meeting, never wear gray because the person can actually like will ignore you because they don't see you.
So I don't wear gray, but my whole house is gray. But it's so interesting what you just said because I think I'm a social person and I love people and I'm an ambivert, so I can do both. But so interesting that the color of gray is an isolating color. You know what I mean?
It could be, you see, when you come home, there's a reason why we also pick gray for our house. I mean, my room is gray with light blue because when you come home, you want to isolate the outside. And we have like in our interior workshops, we actually have specific colors we recommend and the amount of hours you sleep with these colors surrounding you. And I actually tested this out on like a Fitbit watch that I have to see if the numbers are right or not. I do a lot of experiments on myself, by the way, with color. So, and it is extremely accurate. So, and for each room, actually, you should have certain colors for the mood you want that room to be in. So, I mean, I don't know your mom's personality, but I'm assuming with the colors you just told me that she's a very outgoing and very lively person. So that's why she surrounded you with a lot of yellow, because yellow is the color of creativity, friendliness, joy. So, that's why she wanted these colors around her. And as I said, like each room has a certain use. So you have to have a color associate for the use of that color. So like a living room would have like touches of yellow and green in it. A bedroom should be in the light tones like grays, light blues. Purple is a color that you only get 5 hours of sleep in.
Okay, how many hours do I get for gray?
For gray, you get roughly 7 hours, 7 to like 7 months. So you're good.
What does it say about people when they wear a lot of black, when their go-to is black?
That's actually two aspects. Color symbolism, we've been brainwashed fashion-wise that like black is sophistication, it is power, which is the meaning of the color black. But at the same time, people, their go-to is, if that's the case, it's always a way that they're the type of people that want something to protect them and isolate them and make people think they're authoritative but not come too close.
What are you currently working on now that you're very excited about?
Well, currently it's exciting because we have gone completely online now, actually, because during the pandemic, I already had started our workshops to be online in December, but then I had to go in speed mode and making it live the minute February hit because of the pandemic. So I'm excited that we really are taking the Gracious F on like another level now. So actually, our clientele is more international because our workshops. Because like through LinkedIn, we've done a lot of work in creating awareness there. So we actually have clients now from like Germany, from Canada, from the UK, which before like we had one or two, but now it's more international. So what we've worked on is basically all our lifestyle services are now online. So we do Zoom session for the color consulting and all of this. And but we do have available because some people sometimes like to come and sit and talk to someone and experience the colors as a vibration. But majority, we're doing all the lifestyle sector online. And the exciting thing is now we're developing our workshops to another level. So I'm entering actually an e-learning market, which is very exciting because I feel I can explore more since I like the whole scientific part of it. I can expand that sector of the business more. But that would be more, I would say, corporate and developing as in training for companies like their sales team. So first of all, it has to do, of course, with their wellness, then how to understand their customers online. Because before I used to train them to meet the customer and analyze their body language. Now they don't have that. So the exciting thing is how I've created an algorithm to do that, but digitally online.
What is the biggest breakthrough you've had with a client where you felt like it even affected you as well?
Well, the breakthrough, I would say, more comes with my individual clients. This was a very interesting story. I had a client who came in, and it was very, very obvious that she had cried before coming into the session. But she's a very sweet and like jolly person. So she will not show that she's upset or depressed. And she came in very bubbly, very happy, and we started talking and we started putting these colors on her and she left balanced, like normal. She was happy and like very content with herself. And she was like, thank you. I had the worst day. You made me feel so good. I saw her after 3 months and she was glowing. Like she was, of course, wearing beautiful colors, but she was glowing. Something had changed in her. And I asked her, I was like, honestly, like you're glowing. I know you're wearing the right colors, but something has changed in you. She's like, you will not believe what happened to me. And here, honestly, it even affected me because I felt wow, like there's some days that I feel maybe I even struggle with this and it kind of brought back. Sometimes I forget because I'm so into my work. Sometimes I forget that I can actually go back to my own colors and treat myself. I'm so overwhelmed and treating everyone else. So she told me, she was like, when I came to you, she was gonna get married and her fiance broke off the wedding like I think 3 days before the wedding with no explanation. So that really broke her. And she was destructive in terms of she got into another relationship that was very abusive. And everybody around her told her, leave this person, it's not good for you. And she was like, I think at that time she just wanted to prove that I am lovable. And she told me, she's like, when I came to your session, I came out, I sat in my car, and I called that person and I broke up with them because you made me feel it is okay to be alone. I can do this on my own. And when I'm ready, I'll find the right person. And it was amazing. She continued like this for a good 2 years. She opened her own business and she found someone and she's married. So this was like an amazing story.
That's it for this week. Thank you for listening to an episode of the Women Power Podcast. And thank you for downloading and streaming our podcast every week. If you love what you've heard, tag us on Instagram and follow the Woman Power Podcast and Woman Power Summit account for more information on our next episode. Please leave a rating review wherever you get your podcast. It really helps other women discover the show. That's it from me. See you next week.